Welcome back to the MMAOddsBreaker Fight Breakdown Show. This one is for UFC Fight Night 72, Nick. We finally got up to it. We're starting to get up there. It's going to be pretty close to be 100. Will these fights match up to McGregor-Mendez or Lawler-McDonald?
It's going to be tough, man. I mean, we're coming off a crazy, huge week, a great week for the UFC. Definitely, they got a lot of momentum on their side right now. A lot of fans are loving the fights. I mean, we've seen some incredible action recently. So it's going to be tough to live up to what we just went through these last few days. But you never know. This is a pretty good card as well. So we'll see.
Let's not forget Stephen Thompson and Jake Ellenberger is the main event, with Thompson getting that head kick knockout, hook and kick knockout. And then Mir and Duffy, pick Duffy. I thought Mir had lost a little bit, and boy was I wrong. He starched him face first, arm out, and bent. Man, I thought he broke his arm on the way down because the way that Duffy fell. But man, Mir is back as well. Now all of a sudden we have another card. This is going to be the fourth card in 7 days for the UFC. Honestly, I don't know how you do it. We talk about it all the time, trying to keep the lines together. But how's the UFC doing it? Their staff has to be completely overworked and extremely tired at this point, don't you think?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, they'd work hard. Make no mistake about that. I mean, it's incredible. I don't know how they do it, but they're pretty organized, and they run a professional, obviously, company. They've been doing it for years, and they only get better. So I'm sure if anybody can handle it, they've handled it smoothly, and they continue to put together some pretty good cards and doing things right.
The beginning of this card is 10 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturday on Fight Pass. Let's not forget Saturday night on Fight Pass. There's still Tiny Fighting Championships for the UFC as well. So Fight Pass now all of a sudden becomes this whole new entity unto itself, where they're actually having two shows in one day. They're having the prelims and they're having a full card later on that night. It's difficult to keep all this stuff together and really keep paying attention. Which of these two fights are you most interested in? The Evan Dunham, Ross Pearson co-main event, or the Thales Leites, Michael Bisping main event?
Probably the main event. I'm just curious to see. I mean, Bisping's looked better recently. Leites has been on this unreal run. He looks better every fight. So I just kind of want to see how that plays out because that's such an intriguing fight. Not that Pearson Dunham is bad. I think that's going to be an exciting fight as well. But just a little bit more on the line, I think, for the middleweight fight right now, because I think the person that wins that fight takes one step closer to a possible title shot. I mean, they have some work to do because that division's so loaded right now, but still gets them one step closer to the right direction.
Is the middleweight division the most stacked division right now in the UFC?
No, I wouldn't. I don't think so. I mean, it's definitely competitive and it's gotten better and it's definitely intriguing. I mean, there's, you know what, you can basically say that about most of the divisions right now in the UFC. We're getting new champions in there, some outstanding champions throughout. But I think you still got to lean a little bit more towards the welterweight division and the lightweight division. I mean, those divisions are just stacked and they've been for a year. So I still lean a little bit more towards those divisions. But the other divisions, make no mistake, are catching up as well. I mean, it's there's competitive matchups to be made across the board.
I agree with you, and every time I see these guys fight, there's always somebody new that I'm looking at in the weight class, in either lightweight or welterweight, that I'm like, this guy in 6 months is going to be in for a title hunt. And I start talking about him, he's one fight away from being in the title hunt, and he's on a prelim card, he's on the early part of the card, because the weights are so stacked, but they change so quickly. I gotta be honest with you, man. I'm more excited for the Dunham Pearson fight than I am for the Leites Bisping fight, just because looking at these looking at these ones, you're trying to break them out, you're trying to break it down. I got to make my pick, like my straight bet, just, okay, here's where I'm going to lay my bet, but then where am I going to put my money? It's a different situation. With the Dunham Pearson fight, I'm stuck. I really am stuck. Nick, can you break this fight down for me, and hopefully before you get done, I'll actually have a real opinion about which way I want to go?
It is kind of tough because, I mean, logically, it should say right now the way they match up. Pearson has pretty good takedown defense. Pearson is the better striker. He's got that knockout power. I think his technique is great, and he's always dangerous on the feet, no doubt about it. But the problem here is Dunham is a tad bit underrated. I think a little bit disrespected, according to the line as well. Right now, it's minus 240 for Pearson. I think it's a tad bit high, to be honest with you, because if Pearson doesn't get that knockout, if this fight hits the scorecards, when have you ever seen Evan Dunham just ever blown out? He's always competitive in fights. He always, makes it hard on the judges because of the output. I mean, he's a very active striker. He, is a good grappler to go along with it. So he has some advantages in this fight, and one being the ground. So he's going to probably try at one point to drag this to the floor. If he does get it to the floor, I think he could possibly submit Pearson on the ground. He can at least control him a little bit. But Pearson does have pretty good takedown defense, so it's not going to be easy to do that. And on the feet, again, you should give the advantage to Pearson because he's the more dangerous striker.
Let's not forget there's two outside benefits here for both guys. One is that Pearson has just recently lost his grappling coach in Neil Melanson. He's moved on to the Black Zillions. And Evan Dunham has now opened up his own school, which we all know. We talked about with Mark Munoz. We talked about with other competitors that They're in there trying to run their school, trying to get the classes put together. Evan teaches quite a bit. It does wear on you when you're in training camp because it does take away from part of your rest time and part of your learning time when you're having to worry about your students. And of course, when you lose a coach, you have a coaching staff change, it becomes very difficult as well in Pearson's situation. Do you think either one of these outside source things will make a difference in this fight? Do you think both these guys are mentally tough enough to walk themselves right through it?
I think that, you know what, in Pearson's situation, he's worked with Neil often enough that he could probably absorb what he needs to, at least to carry him into this fight, even with the loss. So I don't think it'll impact him as much. With Dunham, is what you're saying about Dunham, I think that could have a little bit more of an impact because it is tough, man. I don't know how some of these fighters do it that run academies or run gyms and then, try to get themselves ready because you have to focus so much time with your clients, with your students in there as well. You got to do, a lot of times you do extra overtime and whatnot too, just everything, the stress mentally, physically, and then again, getting yourself prepared. So it might be a good thing. Some people take that kind of atmosphere environment and it actually brings the best out of them, but it does have a negative impact most of the time as well. So I think if anything, it might affect Dunham a little bit more.
So what's your pick on this fight? Taking Dunham or taking Pearson?
I got to go with Pearson as far as a pick goes because, I mean, like I said, on the feet, he is a beast. He's got that knockout power. And Dunham, even though he's, I think, a little bit better than most people think, even standing up, he doesn't get enough credit. I mean, the guy is definitely active and he's got some power on the feet as well. It just seems like when he faces this kind of striker, he does struggle at times. So he's going to have to get this fight, I think, control it, make it a boring, dull fight up against a cage type of thing, just grind out Pearson as much as he possibly can without getting knocked out. But if he hits the cards, like I said, I honestly think Dunham can steal this fight. I think he could possibly finish Pearson. See, that's one thing I really have a lot of confidence in. I mean, offensively, Pearson is the man, but again, defensively, though, he's okay. He just, that chin lets him down a little bit. And I think that, laying 2.5 to 1 on somebody that has a little bit of a suspect chin, and it seems like he might be on a decline. I'm talking about with age, with, the wars that he's been in as well. He's been knocked out a few times now that you never know. I mean, fight by fight, it's kind of a risk. So that's where I'm a little skeptical on Pearson, but honestly, I mean, as far as a straight pick, you got to go with Pearson because he does have a chance of a knockout and he's going to be the better striker and he has decent enough takedown defense where he should be able to keep it upright.
I got to lay my money on somebody. Tell me to lay it on Dunham or pass.
Yeah, it's probably another dog or pass situation. But, I mean, from what you're saying with Evan Dunham and, like I said, the way these guys match up a little bit, it's kind of tough. So it's probably better a pass, to be honest with you, and see what happens. But and see how they look. And then if one impresses, then next time, depending on the matchup, it might be worth a play. But at the current line, it might be a better situation to pass.
Okay, there you have it from the odds maker. Let's move on to the main event.
And I should mention real quick, the current line is minus 240 for Ross Pearson, plus 200 for Evan Dunham.
Yeah, so Dunham's the dog on this one. That's going to be It's a tough pick for me. It's always been tough, and we talked before we started recording that I'm having a real hard time with this one.
Yep.
Okay, Leites and Bisping. This one, to me, it's tough because Bisping's, like you're talking about Pearson, a lot of words, been hitting the head, been getting cracked, been getting beat up. He was already talking about he's already on vacation with his family, took his whole family over there to Scotland to hang out for a little bit. But of course, he's got to beat somebody up on Saturday night first. But he's already in that vacation mode kind of thing. He's a huge star over there in the UK. It makes complete sense to have him on every UK card. Everyone's loves to watch him fight over there because he does bring it every single time. But does he still have enough to get over Leites? I mean, is it one of those things he's going to be able to get through this fight without getting smashed up again?
I don't know. That's a questionable thing too. I mean, the odds are basically a pick 'em, a slight lean toward Michael Bisping. I opened it that way. It's staying that way. So it is basically a toss-up fight. And it's a little tricky to pick as well because Bisping, I mean, more times than not, again, you want to talk about takedown defense. The guy has good takedown defense. So most wrestlers, most grapplers that try to take him to the floor are not successful. I mean, it has happened, obviously. You could look at Tim Kennedy. You could look at Sonnen. You could look at some others throughout, but that have been able to. But Bisping continues to improve on his takedown defense. And on the feet, he usually outpoints people. I mean, he's an excellent point fighter. A little bit underrated power. I mean, a lot of people aren't really worried about Michael Bisping knocking people out. But at the same time, I think people are exaggerating that. He does have enough knockout power on the feet as well. He just hasn't just been a KO machine in the UFC. But that being said, he does enough with cardio, conditioning, fight IQ, overall game planning. Bisping's the man with all that stuff. I mean, he's a very smart fighter, and he has a gas tank to go along with it. And you could tell recently, I think he's had some setbacks, but he's kind of rebounded well. He's been back in the gym. He's been putting in a lot of work because it showed in his fights. I mean, his fight against Dalloway, again, he got cracked and he got rocked a little bit, but he recovered well enough that he ended up barely getting by, but he won that fight. So that credits his conditioning again. And Bisping's just a really tough out, but situational. I mean, as far as the matchup goes, Leites is a dangerous matchup because he's been showing knockout power. You have a grappler that's actually showed knockout power recently as well. So that makes it interesting to me.
You know, you look at their records: 25-4 for Leites, 14 wins by submission, and then Bisping 26-7, 15 wins by KO. So obviously you're looking at it going, oh, hey, it gets to the ground, Leites wins or stays on the feet. Bisping wins, but that's not true anymore. You know, if it gets on the ground, Leites still wins, but if it's on his feet, either one of these guys could win. So Mike has to play the game of not letting it get to the ground to give himself a fighting chance of getting a knockout or outpointing. Like you said, he's a great point fighter. But if this thing goes to the ground, Leites is going to win. I mean, it's just whether it's top or bottom makes no difference. He could slip on a banana peel, have Mike come running in with a big overhand right, slide it in and miss it. Now all of a sudden he's right in his wheelhouse. So this one's a very tough fight to pick. Where are you laying your money on this one?
Man, it is tough because I've been going back and forth with it as well, especially at the line. I think money would probably go on Leites, depending, especially if he's a dog, even if it's only minus 105, because Bisping's minus 115. The price right now on Leites is minus 105. So you probably have to go with the dog either way here in this spot. So if it was reversed, if it was Leites minus 115, I would say you probably got to go with Michael Bisping because it's that close of a fight. I think the scary thing for Bisping is Leites actually has that confidence right now that he's knocked a couple people out recently. And again, we just mentioned he is a grappler. His stand-up game's improving, and he knows he can knock people out. And you got to know that Leites is prepared for Bisping to maybe get rocked. I mean, he knows that Bisping does have somewhat of a questionable chin, even though he's tough. He can do that. So I think he's going to be confident. He's going to think to himself, hey, if I go out there, all I have to do is land a few hard punches along the way, even if the guy's landing, more punishment on me or, outpointing me a little bit. I have to land a few times and I could probably put him out. Or I could get him to the ground. And if I could get him to the ground, I could take his back and submit him, or he's been winning by arm triangle as well. He has multiple ways of submitting you on the ground. So that's what makes it intriguing. So my money would probably go on the underdog, and the underdog right now is Leites.
Okay, well, I agree with you. I think Leites is the better pick, and it's very questionable. I don't even have a straight pick on this one because it's so close. If I have to put money down, I'm taking the dog. That's for sure. So, is there anything else about this fight that the fans at home should know about between Leites and Bisping? Is there any outside liars that we had with the gym, the change of the coaching at the co-main event? Bisping obviously losing Mark Munoz and the gym closing down, having to find different places to train, different training partners now. His main wrestling guy, Mark, isn't around as much because he's moving on to different things. Is that going to hurt his takedown game at all, do you think? Takedown defense game, not his offense, his defense.
No, I don't. Well, I mean, again, he's been putting in the work. So by now, I think, over the years, you're seeing what all the work that has come into play for Bisping's takedown defense is paid off. So I don't think it's going to impact him that much either. Of course, you don't want to hear those things. I mean, you want to try to stay consistent and keep on improving on that sort of thing. But I think it shouldn't hurt his takedown defense too bad. I think if Leites is going to get to the floor, get the fight to the floor, either way, he's going to get it to the floor. So you know what I mean? It's one of those things. And Leites also, he's not your typical wrestler where he's going to constantly shoot for double legs. I mean, he's got different ways of taking the fight to the ground as well, with his trips, with his waist locks, that sort of thing. So I think he's a different type of takedown artist and a different type of grappler. So I think if it's going to happen, it's going to happen regardless.
Well, there you have it. Those are our picks for UFC Fight Night 72. This is the MMAOddsBreaker Fight Breakdown Show. That's Nick Kalikas. I'm Frank Trigg, and we'll talk to you next week.